Today, I want to talk about the overrepresentation in The Sims and why I think EA need to chill the F out. Like, calm down with your pandering now. It is obnoxiously fake at this point. They're clearly doing it for profit. It's every single Pride month. To be honest, guys, it feels like we've got a bloody Pride month of every single year at this point. Like, it's everywhere and it's becoming a bit insufferable, even for me, a gay guy. Now, I just want to make it clear, I've got no issue with inclusion or diversity being included in The Sims. We've been allowed same-sex relationships since The Sims 1, and obviously, I wouldn't still be playing The Sims if I had an issue with that. My issue started with The Sims 4 and how every single Pride month they force an LGBT update onto us that seems to top the previous one, and they love to always top it by adding something that is very controversial. You know, there are certain updates that caught a lot of media attention, and it just makes the LGBT community look bad because they keep on targeting kids and teens, which is the problem that people have these days. Nobody would have a single problem with LGBT people if you didn't target the kids. Leave the kids alone, let kids figure it out for themselves. And this is the problem that I've got. So EA have honestly become a bit of a joke in the Sims community for how much they love to pander to their LGBT players, especially during Pride Month. We're all wondering how many more ugly rainbow designs are they going to add? How many more rainbow dresses and progressive pride flags are we going to see? It's just getting silly at this point. We don't know what they're going to do next. They don't put any effort into it, really. They just say, hey, we're just going to slap a rainbow on it and call it a day. And I'll make it clear, I have got no issue at all with sexualities being in the game, and I've also got no issue with the gender options that they brought out for, obviously, trans adults, as long as it is an adult. I ain't got a problem with that. You know, a lot of gays and trans do play The Sims. They exist in real life, so I ain't got an issue with that. My issue is with the very fake pandering and, like I mentioned, the lazy and ugly design choices. But most importantly, my issue is with these other extreme updates that just take it way too far for a Sims game. They go the extra step further with inclusion. And I'll also add that I am gay. Not that I need the world to bow down to me or accept me. I'm not a narcissist like half of the community seem to be these days. I'm only telling you my sexuality for the purpose of the video, as anytime I've seemed to talk about LGBT issues, people love to assume I'm either homophobic, transphobic, or I'm a straight white man with privilege and I have no right to talk about LGBT people. And I'm here to say that you're wrong. I can talk about whatever I want, gay or straight. And I'll also add, I do not have internalized homophobia before you try and comment that. I've had those comments quite a lot. You bore me at this point. I'll admit, I don't like everything about being gay, mostly the dating scene and how annoying a lot of the community is, especially these days, but I accept myself and I accept most LGBT people, which is, you know, the most important thing. I don't discriminate anybody as long as you aren't a narcissist who tries to have people cancelled or fired from their job for simply having a differing opinion or cracking a harmless joke towards an LGBT person. Like, if you aren't that type of person, then we are cool, no matter what your sexuality, gender, or skin colour is. This video isn't a personal attack towards anyone either. This is mostly aimed at EA, and I'm also going to throw a bit of shade towards some of the bigger Sims accounts who always love to praise EA. No matter what they do, they can never do any wrong, even if they are overstepping the line by promoting things that make no logical sense, and also try to normalise bodily harm to teens with the updates that they've been bringing out. Like, why was this update okay with the Sims community? This is clearly where EA overstepped the mark with inclusion. I'd say, personally, wouldn't you agree? Like, most Sims accounts were all praising this, retweeting it, and basically saying that this is brave and stunning for EA to do, whilst me, as an LGBT person, a gay person, I could clearly see it for what it is, and I was like, this is not okay. Read the comments and you'll see a lot of the community who do not have YouTube accounts and they don't have large followings are calling it out as well because they haven't really got anything to lose. They're going to say it for what it is. And I really respect those people. Like, do people not realize what they're praising and normalizing to young players? It will always honestly baffle my head. I just couldn't get my head around this update. This is one of the main reasons that has put me off The Sims 4 and EA as a company. Ever since they did this, I just really have side-eyed them ever since. I would have had no issue with this update if it was strictly for adults, but they even said it in the article it was for teens, and even the picture had a teenager on it. In my country, you're not allowed to get those kind of surgeries. You have to go through a lot of medical help. And EA is like, this is normal. This is totally fine for a young person to be doing to their bodies. This is totally normal. And we're all meant to just be like, this is brave and stunning, and clap EA. I ain't going to clap them for that. I'm going to side-eye them for that. Very weird update that they brought out, and this is personally what I do not want to see in The Sims 5 or any spin-off that they have planned. And before you all come into the comments arguing that it's not that deep, you don't have to use it, trust me, I've had those comments before, you bore me to death. But would you also say the same if EA added wrist scars, which clearly indicate, you know what? Can't say the word on YouTube, but you know what I mean? And would you also be okay with them adding cancer or HIV into the game, or pandemics and vaccines? And go a step further, would you be alright with them adding other real life issues like red versus blue politics? You know, having flags everywhere that say vote blue, vote red. Would you be alright with that in your friendly Sims game? Would you be okay with that? Going from The Sims 1 to The Sims 4, like, we had none of that in The Sims 1 to The Sims 3, and now in The Sims 4, would you be alright with that? Because I personally wouldn't. I'd be like, this is getting a bit too real for me. This is not an escape that I want out of my games. This is too real, and I'm just exhausted, and it's becoming just insufferable at this point. That's how I feel towards it all. We've got the gender options. We've got sexualities. Why do we need the extra stuff? Why do we need the graphic stuff? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Just because it's a life simulation game doesn't mean all aspects of life need to be included, especially if it's a team-friendly game and the company themselves heavily market it towards kids. Because I've had people argue with me, like, this is for teens that are like 17 onwards. I'm like, you cut the shit. You know for a fact that most people that are playing The Sims 4, especially The Sims 4, are very young, and you know for a fact that EA is marketing it towards kids. It's like adding it to Roblox. Would you be okay with that? I personally wouldn't. I think it's just overstepping the mark, and I'll never agree with it, and that's my opinion. You don't have to agree, but I'm going to be side-eyeing you, to be totally honest with you. If you're not with me on this one, I'm going to be thinking, I don't know what's going on with your mind, but you really do need to just go on YouTube and actually search a lot of this stuff and educate yourself. Don't just educate yourself on one side of the debate. Educate yourself on both sides of the debate. You know, search up Blair White, for example. Have a little look-see. See what you think. That's all I'm going to say to you. And they've also promoted other updates that just go against logic, go against reality, and basically conform to delusions. And I don't agree with it. And I have a funny feeling they're going to go down that route with The Sims 5 and include all of this stuff. But like, this is the type of stuff that I want them to calm down with moving forward. This isn't just an EA issue though. Like, most entertainment seems to be focusing more on diversity and inclusion, and instead of making a good game or a good story, like, I've had to go back to playing older games like Sims 3, Tomb Raider and Saints 2. A lot of them were made in a much simpler time, and they weren't forcing, you know, a lot of political correctness, and they weren't trying to make it super safe where you have to all be kind, you can't say offensive words, you can't do offensive things, and, you know, they weren't shoving real life issues or identity politics into the games, and we actually had interesting, likable characters instead of characters that are just there to basically tick a box. I'm saying it for what it is, that's the truth. Like, look at the woke Saints Row reboot, for example, and how that flopped, because they focus way too much on adding, you know, PC things, woke things, instead of actually making a bloody good game. Whereas Saints Row 2 had diverse characters, but the story came first. And everybody loved it. You know, nobody cared. Nobody cares about skin colours. Nobody cares about sexualities. Nobody cares about trans people being in the game. Hogwarts Legacy, for an example, like, they included a trans character in the game. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody cares. As long as the story comes first and it blends in with the story, we've got no issue. Like, if you're just making a game and just shoving a load of LGBT characters into it and basically just giving them the worst storylines, just making them the most unlikable, just characters that literally have no deep meaning to the story, and they're just added into the game just to say, hey, we've ticked a box. It comes across so obvious and it's so fake. I see it for what it is with a lot of games these days and TV shows and movies. I just see it. And EA are doing the exact same thing with The Sims 4, and that's why I'm concerned for The Sims 5 and their spin-off games, if they're even making any. That's the rumour. But instead of giving players an escape from real-life topics that might trigger a lot of us, they force it onto us and get away with it, because most of the Sims community will hype it up and praise it. And it'll also be praised by woke journalists that I keep seeing non-stop, and also activists. And this is another reason why I have a problem with EA. They love to work with the worst LGBT activists who say the most extreme and harmful shit online. Like, they cause the most hate in the community. They cause the most divide in our communities. They've done a lot more damage to the LGBT community than they've done help it. And they just get away with it because it's so, like, they're promoted so much in the media, because we all know what the media is like now. They favour one side of the political spectrum, and the other side is basically scum of the earth, evil and God worshippers or whatever else. And it's not how it is. Some of us are just centrists. Some of us believe in equal rights, and we just want to be left alone. Like, some of us are with that mindset. But even when these activists and EA are being called out, like The Sims made this post and that activist was getting rightfully called out, they still keep their post active. And this is another problem that I've got as well. The big Sims accounts never called out these kind of activists that EA worked with, but they love to constantly call out people like J.K. Rowling, for an example. A lot of people get very triggered even when you mention her name, because they have the wrong assumption of her. And I'm going to say it clear as here, I actually support her. I do not believe that she is a transphobic woman. I believe that she is basically standing up for women's spaces and saying what should and shouldn't be allowed in as a woman. And she's standing up for biology. She's saying sex matters. And she's also standing up for gay and lesbian and bi people by saying sex does matter. So obviously anybody that says that it doesn't is basically saying that gay and lesbian people don't exist. You know, sex, it matters. And she's basically just been saying it on her platform, but people love to twist her words and make out like she's a monster and say that she's, you know, saying that she's against LGBT people and trans people, when she's clearly stated it many, many times that she isn't. She has a big problem with the narcissistic side, which I also have a problem with. Anybody that's narcissistic and basically bullies the world into submission and expects them to conform to their ways by getting them fired or cancelled and threatening them, obviously you're going to have a problem with them. That's just people in general. It doesn't matter what their sexuality, what their gender is, what their race is. If they are a dick, you're going to call them out for being a dick, and that's what she's been doing. All of these activists that have gone after her, she's just been defending herself, and I respect it. Like, I wish people would just read her tweet with an open mind. A lot of the Sims community especially, because I've always seen loads of the big Simmers always saying, like, side-eyeing anybody who's playing Hogwarts Legacy, try to cancel people for playing that game. And even though they go to Universal Studios and they support Disney, they support Netflix, they support EA, for example, very corrupt companies, but yet they're boycotting J.K. Rowling just because she said some truths. Yet they can't boycott the companies that are literally doing the most harm. Yet they love to call out J.K. Rowling, yet they can't call out the very problematic LGBT activists that EA love to give platforms to. It's funny how the world works. It's funny when a popular trend is going around in the media and it's so trendy to hate on J.K. Rowling. They all just follow like bars. I don't like to call people sheep often, but that's kind of where my mind goes sometimes. And they just love to follow the crowds. And I guarantee if the crowd, the Sims community, if the popular ones in the community all suddenly decided to go against an LGBT activist, call them out, like I wish that they would have done, then they'd have followed. They'd have gone with the same group thought. And it's like, I don't know. A lot of people pleasers. And it personally annoys me a little bit because they love to constantly attack anybody who dares to disagree with certain updates that EA have brought out. Like, I'll use this for an example. Like, it's trendy right now to hate and boycott EA because the game's buggy and broken. But these same Sims accounts that are now hating on EA were only last week praising them and promoting the packs and basically bullying anybody that dared to have a differing opinion about the game and dared to call it out for what it is. A very exploitative game and company that is basically taking advantage of their player base and just pushing out broken products time and time again and getting away with it. Like, they love to bully people like that, but now they're on the side of those people because it's a popular trend. Even though last week it wasn't. You know what I'm saying, I hope. But that's the Sims community for you. It's not really real life, so it doesn't have to be that deep. It's just, I am a big Sims fan. I've played it ever since I was a kid. And there are just certain things that I just don't think should be in a Sims game. And I feel like the representation is just getting a bit too silly now. But anyway, on to the final thing that I would really love for EA to focus more on with The Sims 5 and for them to actually focus on including inclusivity and diversity. I would love for them to show off more gay representation that isn't all about Drag Race. It isn't about wearing feminine clothing, having bright coloured hair, wearing makeup and being into pop culture, and realise that not all gays are the same. We all have different tastes in things. And this is not just EA, this is a lot of gaming studios and the movie industry and TV shows. They always love to paint the narrative that just because you're gay, you must be interested in Lady Gaga, you must be interested in pop culture and dressing feminine and all of that stuff, which I've got nothing against. Let me make that crystal clear, because some of you think that this is an attack, that I'm saying that that isn't good and that shouldn't be promoted. No, that is definitely not what I'm saying. I've got a lot of gay feminine friends who are that way and I love them to bits. They are the funniest people that I've ever met, so I've got no issue with anybody like that. I'm just saying that's not all of us. And The Sims, well, EA love to always represent that. They always love to, in their box covers, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about right now, this so-called modern menswear kit that they brought out. They got ripped to shreds when they brought this out in the comments. Like, this is not how men are dressing in real world. Like, some of them are, and I've got nothing against it. I'm just saying that this isn't how modern men are dressing. Like, you go outside in public, do you see most men wearing skirts? Because I don't. You see Harry Styles, for example, always wearing skirts, but that's like what I'd call kind of high fashion, even though I think a lot of it is kind of ugly, I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't think it looks attractive on men. Like, depends if it's a kilt or something, then fair enough, but the certain things that like Harry Styles, for example, wears, I don't think that's attractive. And the Sims team or EA, whoever it is that's making these frigging decisions, love to promote this and say that this is what men are wearing. They love to say that we love wearing feminine clothing. And like, you just go through the Create a Sim catalogue and most of the male items are unisex and very high fashion, very feminine. Nothing wrong with it, but why is there not a mixture? Like, it's so hard to just find a basic t-shirt or basic jeans or whatever. Well, I can find basic jeans, but it's kind of hard to find like just basic masculine clothing in the game. Even the hairstyles, they were centered around unisex hairs for the longest time. And then with the For Rent pack that came out, finally started adding short back and sides haircuts, which is what I personally prefer. Even though I haven't bought that pack, but it's just such a shame that, you know, this is how long it's taken them to actually include masculine representation. But I just find it silly, and I just hope that The Sims 5 just has an equal balance, you know. I do not have a problem with it being anything unisex or there being feminine items added for the masculine Sims. I don't have a problem with that, just as long as it's all equal. Come on, man. Because EA are trying to make this game into like this girly dress-up game. Like, if you are a guy and you say to somebody you enjoy The Sims, they're like, why are you playing a girly dress-up game? Play something like COD or whatever. They love to say that. I don't really give a shit. It doesn't offend me, but like, it's got a wrong reputation now when The Sims 1 to The Sims 3 wasn't classed as a girly kids game that is a dress-up game. It was actually all genders played it. You know, male and female enjoyed it, and I don't know. I just hope that they don't go down that route with The Sims 5, but with the leaks that I've showed you, it already kind of looks like it's going down that route. A lot of live sim games are going down that route, and I guess we're going through the trend of we must all hate white straight men, so they're not gonna cater to us men anymore. They were like, you've had your time, you've had your representation in video games, now it's our time, and it's like, oh, that's not what equality is all about. But anyway, I've gone on a few different side tangents. I'm just gonna say this is how I feel about EA and also the gaming industry and the movie industry. I'm just really tired of my favourite entertainment being destroyed by the woke message. And I'm not talking about them including diversity and inclusion, I'm just saying that being their main focus. This is the problem that I've got. Instead of just making a great game and a great story, we are just given absolute boring crap with the most unlikable characters just because they tick a diversity box, and that's not right. Look at Big Brother UK for an example. I'm not going to go on a whole thing with this one. I'm just saying, if you did watch that show, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, they brought out the new series of Big Brother, and I was immediately put off because it is just so safe and bland. But the main issue was they clearly focused more on adding diversity instead of adding on big personalities and including drama, which is a problem with The Sims 4. It has no drama, it has no really quirkiness like it did in The Sims 1 to The Sims 3. And that's where I feel like it's going to go with The Sims 5. Just the whole modern gaming industry itself feels like it's going down that route. Saints Row, I know I've used that a few times, but that is the perfect example. And there's other games. I'm worried about Tomb Raider, to be honest. I've got a feeling like they're going to make Lara Croft gay, and they're going to make the story just so focused around diversity and make it just another very bland game where Lara Croft isn't a sexy, feminine woman, and they're going to make her uberly butch, and it just ruins the games that we love and play. It just ruins it all. Like, stop messing with games that we have grown up loving and make new games, make new stories that focus more on the message that you want to push instead of ruining everything else that we love. Just make something new. And though nobody would have a problem, obviously people are still going to poke a bit of fun of it. If it's a bit too much and it's cringe and fake pandering, people are going to poke fun at it. But you know, if you're ruining everything that we love, we're just going to have a problem with it, and it's going to cause more hate, like I've mentioned. But that is all I wanted to say, guys. Subscribe if you enjoyed my opinions. It's totally okay if you don't. Just try to be respectful in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.